What's up guys, and welcome back to Tech Plant. It has recently come to my attention that I had only released one saltwater EcoCube video. I'm sorry about that. For some reason in my head I thought I had two videos out that would at least show you what actually happened after I set it up, but I looked through my videos and I only saw one, so I was very wrong about that. So today I'm going to cover what happened after I set the thing up and a few months into the existence of the saltwater EcoCube. So let's check it out. Alright, so here we are, and this is actually March, and this is only a few days after I actually set this tank up. And I'm going to tell you that I did try and put brine shrimp in this thing to get some sort of creatures going, just like on Cody's lab, but I couldn't get it to successfully take, so I didn't really include the how-to part, which really is just kind of dumping them in the water and hoping for the best. But something in my water must be incorrect and not allowing them to live past a few days. I'm not sure what it is or why, but they hatch, they wiggle around, and then they all just die, and they cause like moldy growth on the bottom. So it was a total failure, and I did try it more than once. They always seem to hatch and swim just fine, but just eventually they just keeled over. Luckily though, that wasn't the only sign of life in this thing, so I was really happy to see. And you'll kind of see right now some kind of, I'm not really sure what this is. I don't know how to identify it, but it's some kind of corally looking spindly thing, but it's kind of cool to see it come out of its little tube. I didn't notice it at first because it's kind of subtle and you have to sit and watch for a while, but once it comes out, I thought it was pretty neat. I believe these things kind of put those tendrils out to catch like plankton and other like very tiny creatures that we can't really see, and they kind of net them and then suck them back in, I believe. I'm not sure, but it was pretty cool to see this. Also, I hinted about this, but finally you get to see it more up close and personal, and that is a small starfish. I wasn't sure if we had any other life in this thing, but luckily I saw him just kind of cruising around, and I think it's super cool that we have something a little bigger and more mobile. It'll be a little more interesting to like watch and see what it does. As always, I try and identify the creatures that I see, and I believe this is Astorino Starfish, which is actually kind of a pest. Most aquarium hobbyists do not like seeing these because I guess they multiply and they must do something for everyone to hate them, but I'm happy to see it in this little EcoCube because without him we got nothing. So it's a good sign, even though it's considered a pest. Alright, so I did show you some cool things, but honestly for the next 2 months nothing really interesting happened. They just kind of kept living, and actually putting those brine shrimp in really polluted it. As you can see, there's just kind of like stuff growing everywhere. Probably the biggest mistake I made with this thing is adding those brine shrimp eggs, because not only did they not add any interest, they just kind of ruined it, but luckily everything is still kind of living. Luckily though, something new appeared after these 2 months, and it actually looks totally alien-like to me. I've never seen anything like this, and they just look so weird to watch them travel along the glass. These things are called like red Planaria. I believe that's how you pronounce it. But these are also considered some kind of pest for most aquarium keepers. So I think it's funny that I'm getting excited over these pests, that other people do not want to see in their cage or tank. But honestly, I really love the way they kind of glide across the glass, and their interesting color with like the kind of speckled red, and just they feel like ghosts or some sort of like strange creature that just like grazes and consumes like everything in its path. It'd be weird if these things were like 6 stories tall and they just kind of like cruise the earth, consuming everything in their path. Like that's kind of how these things, that's how they come off to me. They just seem so ominous and freaky. Here again is our starfish. He's doing pretty well, he or she, I'm not sure what it is, but it's alive, it's doing well, crawling around, and must be eating little things on the glass. I tried to do a little time lapse just so you can see it cruise around a little faster, and I think it turned out alright. It's just kind of cool to see them move with time lapse because they're kind of slow on their own, so it's cool to see it sped up a bit. In the footage you can also see a lot of like micro life, which is really cool, and I just enjoy watching the starfish move around. Sadly, this will probably be like the last positive update, because in this thing, which is now almost a year old, along with the ecosphere, they're both struggling to maintain any sort of life outside of like plants. But it was still an interesting experiment, and I definitely learned a little bit about how, like, what to do and what not to do. Definitely polluting it was not good. But anyways, I'm sure this was interesting for you guys. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I thought it was pretty cool what happened. It did suck that I couldn't get those fairy shrimp or whatever they're called to really get going. Every time they would come alive, be fine for a few days and they all would just die off en masse. So I'm not sure why, and I'm kind of sour about it just because it added so much like pollution to the water, and I'm sure it put a strain on the small ecosystem. But I was still excited to see that the little starfish seem to survive and keep on going. So I'll probably have a big update on both of the Ecosphere and EcoCube coming up soon, because they're both kind of in the same spot now. Everything's kind of slowing down, and it's been about a year, I think, even though this was just like a 2 and 4 month update. But I'll try and get that out soon so you can see kind of the conclusion of these things and see where everything ended up. Thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope your plants grow strong and healthy. See you next time.